Good morning. I'd like to call our meeting to order. Welcome to our Budget Committee. We have a couple of presentations today and a few budget items to discuss, bill items to discuss. I'd ask you to please silence your cell phones. And at this point, I would like to ask Representative Troy Stubbs if he would open our meeting in prayer.
Thank you. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful for this opportunity to gather together. We are grateful for the privileges that we have to work in this capacity in the state of Alabama. We are grateful for the recent opportunity we had to celebrate the triumphant victory over death of our Savior, Jesus Christ. We ask Thee to bless us this day, that we will have our minds clear and be able to serve the people of Alabama. We ask Thee to bless all those who are participating in this meeting today, that they will be able to speak their mind and provide us with the information to help us make the best decisions for the people of this state. We love Thee, and this we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Clerk, please call a roll.
McGregor.
Here.
Representative Keel. Representative Drummond. Here. Representative Almond. Here. Representative Baker. Representative Chestnut. Here. Representative Collins. Representative Holling. Representative Daniel. Representative Ellis. Here. Representative Faulkner. Representative Lawrence. Here. Representative Lover. Here. Representative Stubbs. Here. Representative Wood. Here. 11 members in the roll.
Thank you very much. Do any members have guests you want to introduce today? No, we're down to crunch time. Oh, Representative Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two of my superintendents that are here today. I see Ms. Shamita Jeter from Lowndes County, and I also see Dr. Salisbury from Wilcox County.
Welcome. I see welcome. Any other guests? Okay, great. Well, we have three bills we're going to hear today, and one is a public hearing. But before we do that, we have a couple of presentations that I would like for the committee to go ahead and hear. Last session, before we did the budget, I had approached two of our representatives from the Montgomery area, Representative Ensler and Representative Hassel, about ideas we could do to help in situations in their schools. Both these representatives are very involved in their local school districts. Both of them had an idea. We did a pilot program last year for Representative Hassel and one for Representative Ensler. I will tell you that we've got positive feedback. We want to have you updated today. We're going to recommend, I think, we continue these pilots for the next year to see how they continue to progress. And I'll also say that with respect to Representative Ensler's program, one other district has approached us and asked if we could do this similar type program pilot in there, and we'll consider that as well. So at this point, is Representative Hassel in the room? Just went to his office, I think. Well, he has, I think, is Mr. McGregor here? Yeah, so Tommy McGregor, who's the CEO of VisionWise Career Development, guest of Representative Hassel, would you come, please? And I think that just for the members to know what the genesis of this program is, that a lot of students really don't have an indication of what they're going to do after high school. They're not sure what career they're interested in, what field to study, and even then they're not really sure how to apply for a job, get to the job market. So this is a program to try to address that situation and help children and kids, teenagers, kind of identify their strengths and what fields they might work into, then try to help them get into the job market. So, Mr. McGregor, appreciate your opportunity, you being with us today, and please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to present an update on the Alabama Career Discovery Pilot Program. Again, my name's Tommy McGregor. I'm with VisionWise Career Development, and Kenyatta Hassel and I have been working on this pilot program. I'm excited to present it to you. So the program is designed to provide career direction for high school seniors, to give them a vision and a plan for how to pursue a career path that they're suited for after high school graduation. And so this program has three phases. The first phase is the assessment and coaching phase. And so we use a career assessment that's worldwide known. It's called Career Direct. It looks at 4 criteria. It looks at personality, interests, skills, and values, and then begins to match those with career options. So a student takes that online, and then we match them with one of our career coaches, where they spend 90 minutes one-on-one going over the results of the assessment. The student then enters phase 2, which is a training and development phase, where we have a series of videos that they will watch to learn more about how to do research on some of the findings of the assessment, as well as learn some important skills like time management, goal setting, resume development, and other things. The third phase is the vision and connections phase. Students will then meet with myself in a group coaching session, and we divide these groups into 2 parts, ones that are going to college and others that are going into the workforce. And what I try to do in this session is to help them continue on that journey, and with the idea of developing some of these career path options that they have. And then our connection phase, we have been working with some career partners in the area. These are businesses and business organizations to help to provide one of 3 things: shadowing or training or even some job opportunities. And so, like any pilot program, this year was filled with building a workable system, testing that system, as well as blazing some relationship trails, mostly with MPS administrators. And so we spent the fall training 5 career coaches in the assessment, as well as meeting with MPS, the superintendent mostly, and the director of career tech. Honestly, that process took longer than we had hoped, and so we didn't begin meeting with students until January. My hope was earlier, but in hindsight, I think that helped us build a stronger layer of trust with MPS leaders. And so we did begin in January working with students. To this point, we have worked with 200 high school seniors from Montgomery Public School System. Now, I think that this program offers 3 unique qualities. And the first one is the assessment that we use. Most school systems that I'm familiar with use 1 or 2 different career assessments that look at usually 3 criteria: interest, skills, and values. And I mentioned that the one that we use also looks at personality. And so we're able to take personality traits like leadership traits or social traits, leadership, creativity, organization, some of those things, and factor those into the other criteria that a typical career assessment might look at. Another uniqueness is the one-on-one coaching that we offer. So after they take the assessment, they meet with one of our career coaches for 90 minutes and go over. They go through different exercises. They ask a lot of key questions and really try to hone in on some of the findings of the assessment. And then it's our connection to our career partners. And so, as I mentioned, these are local businesses and organizations that will offer shadowing, training, or even job opportunities. And so I started out with just a few in hopes that we can continue this program and build this base of career partners. But just to give you an idea of what this looks like, we're working with Chick-fil-A as one of our career partners. They will offer a leadership seminar to participating students. They also, here in Montgomery, they're building a new Chick-fil-A this summer, and we'll be hiring, I think, over 100 people. And so this is an opportunity for an organization with great leadership and for their employees to present not only leadership traits that they teach, but also an opportunity for employment. We're working with the lab on Dexter, which is associated with the Montgomery Chamber of Commerce. They have developed a program specifically for our program to help with entrepreneurship and business ownership. This will be a program that will happen in the fall, and will take these students from an idea, a business idea, all the way to implementation. And we'll be providing some scholarships for select students that fit the criteria that they're looking for. We have a group of students that are interested in real estate, and we have another group that are interested in IT. And so I've gone and found individuals that have a real estate business, that have an IT business, and they're hosting a Saturday where these students will come and spend 4, 5, 6 hours with these individuals and learn these traits, so that these students can learn more about what is out there and what these jobs look like. And we're also working with educational institutions like Trentham State and others to help students understand the process of acceptance and help connect them to the right people.
So, Mr. McGregor, I think just to kind of sum up, I think that the reason for this idea was that students just don't really have not thought beyond high school. They're not sure what's next. They don't really know what to do. And if those of us who have taken these personality tests or these assessments, it's amazing what they reveal to you about yourself. You can ask these questions, and all of a sudden they tell you a whole lot about what you think, what you like, and you think, well, that pretty much describes me. I think for a student who's never seen that, never experienced that, it kind of gives them some insight to themselves. And now you're trying to help them figure out, you really need to be in a field or an area where you're really working around people, or you're more mechanically inclined, and you're given some direction. And again, I think trying to connect them with local opportunity to give them some plan beyond, okay, graduate, now what do I do? So I think, any questions for Mr. McGregor? Yes, Representative Drummond.
I think this sounds very, very exciting. It sounds like you're getting into the brains of young people. A lot of parents would want to do that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me, and since you've had this pilot for about a year, correct? Have you started accumulating data to see if more of these children want to go into career workforce or on to higher ed, or just what kind of information are you yielding from them?
Well, first of all, we're in the middle of the program, and we will run this until the end of school. But with the 200 that we're currently working with, I would say probably 2/3 of them are trying to go straight into a workforce situation. And then we do have some that are wanting to connect to college. But even those who say that they want to go to college, then we look at their GPA, and we look at some other things and see that it's probably not going to be in their best interest. And so then we provide some other options for them and try to help them make some of those decisions.
Any other questions? Yes, Representative Drummond.
Just one last one on conflict resolution. Are you finding any of the
That's the other pilot.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
That's the other pilot.
Yes.
Yeah. Representative Hassel.
I agree with you said, Chairman Garrett. When you get a kid a vision, they make better decisions, even with conflict resolution, right? If they have some type of direction where they want to go, they're going to start making conscious decisions to go to that route. And that's what this program does, and that's all I wanted to say. Well, thank you.
Representative Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know we have innovation centers through the community college that are working around that have some of those video programs that you can do online and all. It might be a good thing to look into. I think that they're having some success.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Almond.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your work here. I know it's very important work, and I know there's a lot of this kind of work going on throughout the state and other school systems. And one of my questions to you is, what type of coordination have you had with the Department of Education with your program?
We met with the state superintendent this summer and explained the program, and then from that point went to the local system and started working with them.
Any other questions? Representative? No, okay. Thank you very much and appreciate it, and good luck to you as you continue your program.
Thank you.
Is Representative Ensler in the room yet? He had another meeting, so he's not here yet. So clerk, why don't you go ahead and call the first bill?
House Bill 380 by Representative Lovern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. HB 380 is a renewal of a bill that this group was kind enough to help us with a few years ago, and I wanted to tell you it's been a true success story. We try to plant trees in this committee we never see fully bear fruit sometimes, so we're just trying to make the best estimates of what can be done to try to help education, help our children, and what this bill is the storm shelter tax credit, where if someone will invest in a shelter that would be a safety issue that make their family safe, then they could get up to $3,000 or half the cost of installing that for a tax credit. And we all understand the importance of being fiscally responsible with our education tax dollars, but if our children don't feel safe at night every time there's a storm, then they're not going to perform well at school that next day or the day of the bad weather. You know, I've been there where these didn't work out in these storms, and we've lost children, and I just felt that we could do more. And by doing more, see on that map is a layout of just in 2023 by house districts and by counties where and how many of these storm shelters we've got in place. You'll see even in Autauga County, you've had 30 installed. In Elmore County, 53. Lee County, where I represent, we had 12 in 23. And you can kind of look around Madison, 142. So this is working. People are taking this and trying to invest in the safety of their family. And I appreciate the efforts to get us this far, and we did set a sunset responsibly like we do on most of these types of legislations. And what I'm asking for in this bill is for us to renew it up to 2028. And with that, be open to any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any questions or comments? Representative Collins?
I just want to say I appreciate you checking back. I appreciate seeing what all's been done just in 1 year. I think that when we are fiscally responsible with the money that comes into the trust fund, that makes us wiser and helps us make better decisions. I think this one has been very beneficial all around the state, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Representative Ellis?
Just to echo your comments, Representative Collins, thank you for bringing this. It's done good things. It's done good things in my district. I've actually had a couple of my constituents reach out who've done this, so I really appreciate you bringing the bill. And Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I'll make a motion for a favorable report.
Motion for favorable report. Is there a second? Second, Representative Drummond. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Bill's given a favorable report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Representative Ensler, you can join us now, please. Take about 10 minutes or so, I guess. This is the second pilot program we mentioned. that has to do with conflict resolution. And tell us a little bit about it. And I will say this too, that we've had one other district that's basically wants to emulate what we're doing here in Montgomery. So please share with the committee the progress and what this program is all about.
Sure. Well, good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chair and committee, for having me. My apologies, I was at another committee meeting. I'll keep it brief. This was a pilot program that was put in the budget last year to introduce a conflict resolution program in Montgomery Public Schools. And it's starting in a feeder pattern that the school district identified as being the most at risk. For those that know the Montgomery area, it's the Percy Julian High School feeder pattern, Capitol Heights, and then Chisholm Elementary School. And the school district identified that feeder pattern based off of those schools having the highest rate of suspensions and disciplinary infractions. And what this will allow what the school system is now doing is it allowed them to hire 2 conflict resolution coaches. They have backgrounds in social work and in mentorship working with young people. And what they do is they float between the 3 schools and based off of students that are either getting office referrals, students that are falling behind academically, students that are chronically absent, these conflict resolution coaches work with those individual students and their families to help identify what some of the issues are at home, what some of the issues are maybe in the community that they're facing, and then some of the issues that they're facing in school. The main focus is to try to deter them from any sort of violent conflict, particularly for students that maybe have been suspended for getting in a fight. Maybe they brought some sort of weapon to school. The idea is to really try to keep them in school and teach them the skills and work with them so that they don't get involved in any sort of violent conflict moving forward. One of the really great things about the program is that the coaches also have the ability and authority to go visit homes. So they may be in the school in the morning. If a student is absent, they can go to the home and, of course, with parental consent, come in and speak with the child or with that family. So they're able to float around and be really flexible. One of the things that's really beneficial is that especially those of us that have backgrounds in public education or know what's happening in the schools, our guidance counselors and teachers are stretched thin. They're often asked to wear 10 different hats and do a million different things at once. So having these conflict resolution coaches takes some of the burden off of our classroom teachers and the guidance counselors. It allows the guidance counselors to focus on what they're really there to do, which is the academic side. And then also for teachers, it allows them to focus more on their subject matter, on what they're there to teach, and they can then refer certain students to these coaches. So the hope is to continue to expand it, not only in Montgomery into other feeder patterns, but into other school systems throughout the state. The last thing I'll say about it is they use best practices and it's data driven. So whatever students that they're working with, they're measuring to see is their academic performance improving, are there suspensions or disciplinary infractions going down, is there absenteeism going down? So it's not just a feel good quality type thing, but there's a quantity component to look at that it's actually helping and supporting our young people. And that's just a bit, and happy to take questions.
So the program really began in the fall, I guess, or maybe you're getting it set up. So can you tell yet how successful? Are you having success? Are you seeing some positive results?
Yes. So far it's been great, and it again started in the feeder pattern, and already just anecdotally, schools are reporting that they're able to identify proactively, students and help get them back into school and get more at the root of the issue. And the schools and the school system are very grateful for it.
Have you seen a reduction in instances at school between conflicts between students? Have you seen any? We
have. So especially at the high school, they have reported that that's been helpful. And also for the students, just knowing that those coaches are available. If they're having a difficult time and they want a trusted adult they can talk to, they may go to them before it turns into a violent conflict. So it already is helping, especially on the high school level.
I would think just someone showing concern or care or interest would be helpful to many students. Any questions or comments from committee members? Representative Drummond?
Finally got the right one.
Sure.
I wanted to I think Chairman Garrett sort of piggybacked on what I was going to ask. Have you seen any kind of data to see if you've had conflict or those incidents, suspensions, and other things reduced since this program started? And then my second question is, I know that in my county, we have what we call mental health coordinators. We have about 12. And they sort of do what, when in listening to you, they do all of that. And they not only coordinate with the feeder pattern, but they also coordinate with those agencies that if a family is in need of whatever, they sort of help those family members out as well. So can you talk a little bit about those two? Thank you.
Sure, and the program did start just in the spring semester now, so it's been just a couple of months in. It took a little bit to get everything sorted out. So the data is relatively new, but it has shown that so far that there are students that there has been a reduction in their disciplinary infractions that those coaches are identifying. There's certainly overlap with the mental health coordinators, at least within Montgomery. Some of the feedback I've gotten is that those mental health coordinators are great, but they have their hands full with the entire system. So this allows just even more hands and bodies, to work with young people, to just have even a more concerted effort. I think we need even more of the mental health, not only coordinators, but counselors in the schools. And they certainly complement one another. And I'm sure in some school districts, can play a similar role.
Any other questions? Representative Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Vansler, I much appreciate this pilot program, conflict resolution, and conceptually, I really love the idea on that for students. Just a couple of questions. Seems like this seems to be, as I understand, it's a pilot program, so it's still in development maybe, but it seems to be a little bit more reactive instead of maybe proactive. Not that one is necessarily bad or good in that, but so the teachers are the ones that refer students to these professional coaches, and it's not necessarily where it's just say an assembly program where students sort of proactively are provided some suggestions or trying. So it seems to be a little bit more one-on-one personalized is what I seem to understand. I'm just trying to wrap my head around a little bit about what the program is.
Yeah, so it's whether teachers, administrators, the guidance counselors. So far, the way it's working is it's referral based, and by referral in a pretty informal way. There's not a arduous process to have to document, and it really is just if a teacher says to one of the coaches, "Hey, can you work with Alan, or can you work with whoever it may be?" They certainly could do more of the proactive, assembly based or classroom based. That's something that they've discussed, but at least to start, yes, it's been a little more, I guess in that sense, reactive, but in the larger picture, I think of dealing with absenteeism, with disciplinary issues, and then certainly with crime or violence. It's in this sense more proactive in that we're trying to support and work with our young people before they get even caught up in the criminal justice system.
And a follow-up, maybe. Yep. And so these professional coaches, they're in the schools, is this on a daily basis or only sort of as needed, or how does that work?
It's on a daily basis, and like I said, for now, they rotate or kind of fluctuate between the three different schools that they're based in. So, they may decide they're going to spend, Monday in the high school, Tuesday in the middle school. They may decide they're going to, go to all three schools in one day. It's the great thing is it's really flexible that they're not, locked in just to one place for a set period of time.
Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is something, then I appreciate your diligence in terms of trying to look, your open-mindedness to look at support programs, because this is something that you've already mentioned, Representative Ensler. This will be support for the teachers as well as for the administrators, and as well for the students. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Representative Ensler.
Great. Thank you all so much.
Continued success. At this point, we'll move back into our agenda for bills. Clerk, please call the next bill.
House Bill 258 by Representative England.
Well, I think we wanted to call the other one first, I believe. Do you want to do 58 or 57? You and your bill or Representative England's bill first?
We can do mine first.
Okay,
if that works for him.
let's call 257 then first, hopefully.
House Bill 257 by Representative Lovern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee again. And I'm honored to come with you today with HB 257. And I want to tell you a little bit of the story of how I came to work on this legislation. I was sitting at the presentation of Innovate Alabama, and every other word talked about of why people love Alabama, why people come to Alabama, why people want to stay in Alabama. It seemed to revolve around the things that we have to offer, but that other states don't. And it's centered around our recreational opportunities, our abilities to find rivers and mountains, and just the cleanliness of the outdoor experience in our state. And so I started having conversations with people, talked with Chairman Garrett, talked with others of how could we get some skin in the game for the state to promote that, to try to inspire people to get outdoors, to inspire people to see the things that we have. And, you know, sometimes Alabama can be painted in a negative light on a national stage, but we have such a beautiful state that we need to take care of, we need to preserve, and we need to enjoy. And so I started looking into other states and what they have to offer. Florida has some things dealing with sunshine and getting out, and they have some things that they do for tax holidays on sunscreen, some rentals of beach rentals, and then Mississippi has a Second Amendment only where guns and ammo sales tax holiday. Although I like that holiday, I wanted to take it to the next level and be a little less Alabama on exactly what we do and offer more opportunities for people to be outdoors. And then I started looking at what can we offer and how do we promote it. And the title that working with revenue to try to see what components would be there, we landed with the name of Alabama Adventure Awaits. And so it's a look at it, and I'm pretty simple-minded with things. I envision when the old show Andy Griffith's coming on and Andy's taking Opie out fishing, and the experiences of having that experience out on fishing and hunting and camping and kayaking and being outdoors. I know it meant a lot in my upbringing, and I think it means a lot, and I think it's a missing component on a lot of the soft skills that are out there today. And I talked to a guy one time that had 4 children, and I talked to him about, I thought he was crazy for having 4 children, and because I only had 2 and struggle. And I said, how do you handle conflicts when they disagree? I said, we go fishing. And I said, oh, y'all talk about it while you're fishing? And they said, no, sometimes we don't have to talk about it. But just that time in nature helps them come up with the best decisions and think about and reassess their priorities. So that's the basis of what we've looked at with this sales tax holiday, to try to trigger people to go outside. But I also wanted to be a good steward of our tax dollars. So I've looked at ways, how can we work to pay for this? And we've been working on it for months of ways to offset. And just so I've talked with the chairman about this, Representative England and I were going to move these 2 bills together, 57 and 58. His is an adjustment to the SSUT, the online sales tax, that's more fair for our businesses that are being charged a higher tax, or having to charge customers a higher tax rate, but you're giving advantages to billionaires on the West Coast that are online that are only charged a lower rate. So with some of that, we're trying to negotiate and figure out a best way to fill the gap that this would create in some areas. And so we're trying to be responsible as we move forward. Now, there's been some criticism because this includes boats and ATVs and what reasoning was put behind including that is we looked at how could this open up to generate more revenue for the state. Well, fishing shows, hunting shows, where if they could fall on that weekend, then if someone came in and bought some things that were in stock at those businesses, they would eat at our restaurants, maybe stay at our hotels, and get out and travel. And those of you that have been fortunate enough to own a boat, that's just the beginning of your spending. So you will continue to reinvest in that investment. And the next weekend, let's say if you bought something smaller, like you bought a tent, well, you're going to go camping, you're going to realize it's pretty dark out there. The next weekend, you're going to say, we need some lanterns, we need hammocks, and you'll be paying the full tax rate on those items. And I apologize, everyone's got a reason to advocate, but you're going to get contacted by some people. There was a blast sent out by an organization that said some lawmakers think boats and ATVs are more important than K through 12 funding. I was raised by a teacher, married a teacher. My kids are in public school, and my first request was to be on this committee because education is important to me and the steward of those dollars is important to me. But we also have to look at the big picture of educating a child. And so getting those soft skills, getting those outdoor skills involved to where you can understand and have that high quality of life not only provides a better growth environment for our children, but it also may inspire them to decide to live out their life right here where they've enjoyed their childhood. So I apologize, you'll get a blast on that, but that's not the intent at all. It's to try to spark, and we're working to try to figure out a way to return a lot of that funding directly. But I think you're going to see that if this works, that we'll have a lot of indirect return of funding on that. And so that's the basis of where we are. And I've asked the chairman at work that although there's not a public hearing called on this bill, there was one on Representative England's bill that we move these together because we're trying to be responsible to fill some of those gaps. So with that, I'd entertain any questions you may have.
So, Mr. Chairman, we're not planning on voting on this today. I think, are you still working on amendments on this bill, or?
We are. One amendment that we're doing a draft fiscal note is we've already dropped the price on boats. So we don't want to be a tax holiday on someone's yacht. So we had it at $300,000. We're looking to lower it at $150,000. And if anybody's boat shop lately, that narrows it down tremendously. And this is not, I go order a boat that day. It has to be a boat in stock. And so when you have these vendors these stores that are selling their stock, if they can move the product they have in stock, they're going to buy more and then have other items to sell. They're going to reinvest in their community. So we're trying to find a sweet spot in there. This bill has multiple sales tax holiday days. We've already got an amendment that would take it down to one day. So we're working to try to find that sweet spot of what's important, what needs to happen. We looked at aligning it with other existing sales tax holidays, and we worked with retailers to try to find what's best because we don't want to be an inconvenience to that person shopping. And this is for a mom that's buying sport equipment for their child, for outdoor sports. There's a lot of items in there that we want to make sure to make it easier for that consumer that's trying to get their kid outside and participate. So that's the amendment we have so far.
Yeah, so we won't be voting today. We'll be taking this bill up next week. So just keep that in mind that we haven't really seen the final version of this, but conceptually this is a one-day sales tax holiday on items that you'll identify. And we'll have a new fiscal note on that. Representative Faulkner.
Yeah, Representative Lovern, I have some colleagues like Representative Lawrence and Ellis that they don't hunt and fish as much. They play pickleball and golf. And, those are outdoor activities and get outside. That's how they were raised and what they like to do. And, just thinking about them being outside, I see that sports or recreational equipment is on page 3 as defined in section 40-23-210. Would that cover, you know, golf clubs, pickleball, paddles, that sort of thing for outdoor use?
Well, we went back and forth with revenue on the specifics of those, or how those are coded, and with revenue match, those would be included in there. So only in-stock items. So even like somebody that's not really an outdoorsman like Representative Ellis, you know, that he could get his pickleball equipment and, you know, maybe get inspired to be outdoors. So,
Okay.
and take his son with him.
So these items have to be purchased in Alabama from a retail, not online, or can they be purchased online?
We are trying to limit these to in-store, in-stock items. So not an order placed. It's to help our local businesses thrive too. Whether they're marking down items to purge at the end of a season, they're trying to buy for the new season, or they're trying to ramp up. And we've looked at landing this at May so that people can invest in that outdoor recreation before the summer comes, so they can get ready to be outdoor with their family. So yes, we have really dialed down. It's amazing to me how much coding goes down to these different items, but we're trying to make it as responsible but open to people's diverse thoughts of what makes enjoyable outdoor experience.
Representative Almond. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just trying to understand the fiscal note. So the $66 million fiscal note is as introduced without the amendment and with the 2 days, is that right?
Well, I think that number includes also county and local, right? And so talk about that, speak to that.
Yeah, that we were looking at the broad strokes, so that was a bigger number. That's bigger, including the higher number on boats. So we looked at trying to look at every boat in stock today, if it's sold, that fell in that range. So that number is going to be dramatically reduced. And I've asked LSA to work to give us a draft with that amendment. That's why I didn't ask you to put the amendment on today. We're going to do the draft, so I'll have that to give y'all to see what it looks like as we amend it.
And your bill will be exempting just the state taxes, which allow the locals to opt in. Is that correct?
That we've been back and forth on opt-in or opt-out. And so right now we landed at opt-in. So they would have to opt in.
Which is what we've been
pushing.
Yeah, pushing, right.
I listen, trying to do responsible.
Representative Ellis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to say wonderful good things about your bill until that personal attack that you and Faulkner launched on me. But no, on a serious note, on the fiscal note too, when you link these two together, and I like that and I appreciate that, when you do that, the net effect is an increase. Am I right there? When you link these two bills together, the net effect is an increase to the revenue to the ETF.
That's
is that
not
right?
Well, we're still working on the dynamics and Representative England's work diligently to try to make sure that we are finding ways to include the education community.
Okay.
Just an increase in that, if his bill is passed,
Okay.
then there'll be the opportunity for local education to seek that funding on a local level. But we're having discussions whether to go ahead and include that now. But that's part of the ongoing discussions. I don't want to create a hole we're not going to backfill, that either direct or indirect.
Right.
So
okay. Well, I appreciate.
So let me say this and see make sure this is correct. So if we were to do this exemption, the sales tax holiday, that would be an negative impact to the Education Trust Fund. If we were to pass Representative England's bill, which has to do with raising the online sales tax, that would be directly something that would impact locals. It would not affect the budget. So the ETF would be negatively affected, but the locals would benefit from this other bill we're going to hear in a minute. And the discussions they're having on that bill would be, should some of that local money be directed to the local schools? I think is that the right way to frame that?
That's exactly right, Mr. Chairman. We're trying to see where you may not go through the state model to see that money appear. You'll have local funds that are there that, one, either by request or if we come to a compromise, to directly go to that, the local education community.
So what I might suggest is that since we're not voting on this bill today, we're going to see a different version with amendments and more clarity on that. Why don't we move into Representative England's bill to let him present? There is a public hearing, so we do have some people that want to speak, talk about your bill, love it, and give it some other comments. But is that acceptable to you, Mr. Chairman?
That's perfectly acceptable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Clerk, please call the next bill.
House Bill 258 by Representative England.
Thank you for the recognition. I think most of the discussion around the bill has kind of properly framed it. And I just want to say, money committees, boy, y'all got it going on. I get my picture up here and everything. So they told me this is where the money is, so they were correct. This is a simplified seller use tax. Many years ago, we couldn't compel online marketplace facilitators to collect a tax. So in order, Alabama was pretty forward-thinking in regards to creating an opportunity at a lower tax rate so we can encourage places like Amazon and so forth to collect a tax. It was at 8%, which is lower than the state tax rate. Since then, Supreme Court has made a couple of rulings and has provided us with the ability to assess that use tax. So it has sort of outlasted its usefulness in terms of making them do it voluntarily, so they don't have to do it voluntarily. Now we can make them. And over the course of the years, what we've seen is, as Representative Lovern pointed out, the online sales tax has skyrocketed. It has ballooned, but it has also encouraged more people to stay away from brick and mortar retail stores in their counties and your cities. So this is an effort to equalize the tax so more people will go back to your brick and mortar, which helps twofold. A, when people go and spend money in your city at the retail, it helps the retailer, but it also helps the city because you collect that money up front. But it also, again, encourages people to go buy locally. And I think that's the most important thing here because, again, it helps both ways. You collect more taxes in store when you purchase there, and it goes directly to the city or the county. So that's essentially what this bill does. It increases it from 8% to the state average, which is about 9.3%. And it does not do anything to change the current distribution formula that the SSUT currently enjoys. Right now it's 8%, 4% goes to the state. The state always gets its 4%, and the other 4% is distributed by population to counties and cities regardless of where the transaction occurs. So this would take an additional percentage, and as you can see, it would take, the new tax would be split 80% towards municipalities and 20% towards the counties. And as Representative Lovern pointed out, there have been a lot of discussions over the last few weeks about how to get some of this money directly to education interests. There has been some controversy across the state created between county commissions, county school boards, and so forth around SSUT. And this will be a way to kind of resolve some of that conflict if we can directly give them some revenue and make them whole, I think is one of the touch points of the conversation. So I'm gonna stop talking. I know there's a public hearing, and I'm pretty sure that the folks in public hearing can express this a lot better than I can.
Thank you, Representative England. I want to say this to you, that you are one of the brightest legal minds down here, and I have been on the receiving end. And sometimes I've got a plan here.
I'm about to let you have it here in a second.
Okay, one of the brightest legal minds, and I have been the victim or experienced the gentle rebuking sometimes when I misspeak about a legal matter. So I'm a tax guy, right? So I just want to just clarify something you said in the same spirit, which you correct me, is that you mentioned that our state tax is higher than most. That's not true. The Alabama state sales tax is the lowest, second lowest in the country. We're higher in our all-in tax rate because of the taxes to the locals. So the state tax is still low, but it's the local tax, and there's reasons for that. And what you're doing, I think, is attempting to move from that cap we've set on that local to make it higher, to make it more fair. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And one question I do have, that it's 9, so if you take 8% and you add in this 1.33, that's 9.3. I'm looking at the Revenue Department. How is that number arrived at, that equalizing number? Okay. Because in some places, your all-in tax rate's 10 cents, right? 10%. So this is
right.
So explain.
Yes, this is Cameron with Department of Revenue. We, in essence, take the average of the general rate of the counties and then the average of the local municipal rate, generally again with the municipalities, and get the average of those to come up with that additional 1.3%.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Would you like to retort or rebut?
No.
Thank you. Let's go into the public hearing first. And okay.
So now,
hey, come on now.
So now, when I get ready to buy my bikini to go to the beach, I got to go in store rather than buying it on Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Public hearing. We have
had to work through some. Never mind.
We have 4 speakers. Let's take 2 minutes apiece, if that's okay. If you need the 2 minutes. But first up, speaking in support of the bill, is Baker Allen with the League of Municipalities.
Good morning. I'm Baker Allen. I'm the Director of Policy and Research for the Alabama League of Municipalities, and I'm here to speak in support of House Bill 258. This bill would add approximately 1.3 to the simplified seller's use tax, bringing the average rate to about 9.3%. By increasing the SSUT, we are creating a competitive environment for local businesses which currently compete against a lower rate for online sellers. Additionally, local governments are missing out on sales tax collection from online sales because of that lower rate. This bill aligns the rate to better reflect what local governments would have collected. The revenue generated allows local governments to meet the expectations of their local communities. We'd like to thank the sponsor for bringing the bill.
Thank you. Speaking in opposition, Sally Smith, Alabama Association of School Boards.
And in full disclosure, we are the group that sent out the piece on the sales tax. So with the chairman's permission, since the bills are linked, I'd like to talk a little bit about both bills, because what we have here, and I think these young people know, school boards have FOMO. Y'all know what FOMO is, right? Fear of missing out. And that's the problem here. School boards are going to miss out on both bills. First, there's this hit to the ETF of $28.5 million, and that's going to be year after year. Now, that's money you get to allocate, but it comes to local boards of education. The offset that we're hearing about is going to be through the SSUT, that's going to go to counties and cities. Well, what's missing in both is education, our money going straight to school boards. And so we appreciated Representative Lovern and Representative England the opportunity to work with you to be able to correct this, because that's where our concern is. It's not surprising that school boards come up, and whether it's a tax exemption, a tax credit, or in this case, what we call the boat, gun, and ATV tax-free holiday, it's because we want to protect the ETF. Every time you take money out of the ETF, you're making a value decision, because there are things in the ETF that we're not funding. For example, right now, there is no protected line item for school safety in the ETF. Yet we in this legislation want to subsidize gun safes for individuals. So we think going forward, we can find a better way to make this bill perhaps a win-win, but right now it's very negative to the education community, and that is where our concern is.
You're speaking about 257 right now, right?
Pardon?
257 is what you're saying is negative.
Yes, and it's negative 257, and on the SSUT, and in fact, Representative Garrett, we talked about this the other day. Right now, the only sharing of the literally billions of dollars that have come in SUT is at the discretion of a city or county. According to the PARCA data, only 15 cities or counties are actually sharing SSUT revenue, and we use sales tax revenue to support our
So may I ask a question? Let's set 257 aside. That's a different bill. This is public hearing on 258. So on 258, if it were a standalone bill, would you be opposed to this bill on a standalone
on
basis?
SSUT without education, yes. We understand where it's coming from, but we were left out of the 2015 legislation, and we think that was an oversight. And going forward, we think local school boards need to be considered in that. And as I mentioned, only 15 right now are sharing, and one of the 15 is because a state senator passed a local bill and a local constitutional amendment later to make that happen in one county. So we think we
I'm
need
just trying to
share.
clarify in my mind. You're opposed, but you're not participating today. And if it were to pass, you would be participating tomorrow. But that
We could change our position if we were sharing in that. Yes, absolutely.
okay. Thank you.
We
Appreciate
think
it.
we
Thank
need
you.
to talk.
Next to speak in favor of the bills, Rick Brown, Retail Association.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm up here, I'm Rick Brown, I'm president of the Retail Association. We have approximately 4,300 retail box members all over the state. And I'm up here to really just talk about the fairness issue. For years and years and years, these online transactions were tax-free. And so here in Montgomery, the online retailers had a 10% advantage on your local folks that employ your people, involved in your schools, stuff like that. Well, there's still a disparity, and we'd like to close that. While it wouldn't close it completely in Montgomery, it would be more fair to your local retailers to have them not competing on the tax rate, but have the same rate, both online transactions and the local retailers. So we would encourage you to support this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. The last speaker is Ryan Hollingsworth, School Superintendent Association.
Well, we are actively engaged in conversation with Representative Lovern, and we appreciate that. Hope to get to a resolution, but Representative England came to Tuscaloosa for a district superintendent meeting and had HB 17 that I absolutely loved. And it increased the SSUT collections to 9.25, and that extra 1.25 went to local boards. That was fantastic. And somewhere between then and now, I'm going to say, I don't know who, but somebody hacked in and changed his bill to now that we're not getting any of it. So that's the concern, and I don't want to repeat kind of what's been said, but I do want to point out that I think Representative Lovern spoke to the point that cities and counties could opt in, but this bill provides the extra funding regardless. So they could choose not to opt in, but still get the extra funding. And that would be a concern. So we think we were left out initially when the online sales tax was put in place. We had some verbiage that we would love to see that would, if we're going to change the online sales tax bill, that would say the proceeds shall be allocated by the municipalities and counties in the same manner as other sales tax receipts. So it's treating it like a local sales tax, and that's up to the locals to how those local sales tax receipts are divided. Okay. Some of it go to schools. And so we've got a lot of students here from BC Rain down in Mobile County. And so if Andy had taken his girlfriend Helen in their store there to bought something to go on a little camping trip, you know, then they would have received a part of that because it purchased it in store. So thank you for your time.
They have no idea who Andy and Helen is.
No, but he does. I'm speaking to that. So, I know. I just wanted to recognize them for being here today.
Thank you. So that concludes our public hearing. Representative England.
I just want to respond. Yes, I did sponsor that initial bill, but you know, politics comes in, and I was told that bill was super dead. So, in order to continue the conversation and get us to this point, that's what politics are. It's the art of compromise, and I think bringing that issue to the forefront is allowing us to have this conversation, and I think between now and the next time we talk, you'll have a resolution to that problem.
Representative Lovern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative England. You certainly did bring that bill, and while we were working on this, that bill got filed, and I reached out to you, and I said, hey, we're working on situation. I don't know that we could do 100% education, but we want to. This is tied to an education component, and I appreciate you being willing to take it. And one thing I just wanted to share, I learned in this process. So in our cities, people, this is a fairness bill. This is our to align our brick and mortar with the advantage that these people that's not even in our state that are selling online put our local businesses. I put it the Bubba over billionaires analogy, where you've got your friend Bubba that may own the hardware store in downtown. He's having to charge a higher local rate, but the billionaires that own the online sales, they're being able to sell at a lesser rate and a tax rate. And so, is that fair? I never see those names on the back of a Little League jersey. You know, that's you see your local stores. And let's say that you're in rural Alabama and your sales tax that I learned in this process, let's say you pay currently a local tax of 5%. Well, you could order things online if this is increased, or the rate it is now at 8%. And at the end of the year, you can take your receipts from what you've bought online and submit and get a return for what's in that gap of what you paid over your rate. So if you're in rural Alabama and you're at a lesser tax revenue area, and correct me if I'm wrong from revenue, you could fill out that form within a year and you will not see an increase in your taxes. So that was a concern, and my eyes were open that I need to move out into the country and can save that money. But just I appreciate your work, Mr. England, for us to continue to work through this process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And most importantly, we're going to get Corley out of the house.
Representative Colvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Stubbs wanted me to ask a question on his behalf since he's not here, and anybody can answer this. So this bill says that 80% of the tax would go to municipalities, 20 to the counties. Is that how it currently is done now, that formula?
No.
Well, how is SSUT currently split up?
Oh, that's complicated. Well, it's eight. Please, you are the expert. You have. Because we've got experts here. But if I'm not mistaken, it's 8%. 4 goes directly to the state, and the other 4% is split by population, based upon your location.
Right, it is based on population, but it's a 60-40 split. So, excuse me, municipalities get 60% based on the population, counties get 40%. So that remaining 4 is split 60-40.
Gotcha.
And all County Commissions Association, League of Municipalities, and everybody's been involved in that 80-20% split. And as far as I know, everybody's on board with it.
Is the 80-20 just for the additional 1.3 or for the entire tax now?
Just for the 1.3.
The additional, okay.
Representative Almond.
Unlike when we originally created the SSUT, we now have the ability to track where the purchase comes from, right?
We do.
We didn't then, I don't believe.
No, that was part of that's simplified seller use tax. So to make it as easy as possible, that's why we didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But we're still not doing that.
Still not doing that.
Okay.
You sound like the mayor of Tuscaloosa.
Any other comments or questions for Representative England? So again, this bill and Chairman Lovern's bill are both being worked on. We're not voting today. We'll expect to see some amendments, and we'll take this bill up in the future. Is there any other comments for the committee? Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, members, you have before you a handout, and this is a something we're going to need to discuss as we go into the budget process. But this shows you all the bills we have in committee that are related to tax cuts, tax exemptions, et cetera. We just need to look at this, and as we look at all of these, obviously we can't do all of these. You'll see some cumulative totals there at the bottom of what these would cost. Pretty staggering if we did all of them. So the point is, we're going to have to make some decisions and set some priorities and factor this into our budget process. So just be aware of that as we, in the next few days, we discuss. To that end, in the morning at 8 o'clock, we will have a meeting in the morning at 8 o'clock in this room to discuss the proposed budget. Our plan is to move the budget next week. We will have a committee on Tuesday to vote on the budget, and then probably be on the House floor probably on next Thursday. That's subject to change, but that's the plan. So be aware of that. I think I've had some questions and discussions. A few of you I still need to speak with, but other than that, any questions about that? So 8 o'clock in the morning, need to be prompt because we go in tomorrow, I believe, at 10. Is that right? And I'll make sure that we have enough time to go through. We have a lot to go through in the morning. Any other comments or questions? I'm sorry? Oh, yes, Representative Drummond, you have some guests that you'd like to recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Karen and Grace, for helping me. I appreciate it. I am really proud to introduce to you all Circle's Youth Empowerment Group, and it actually represents, I think, about 4 schools. Not only is there BC Rain, but also Williamson, Davison, and also LaFleur, under the direction of Kawana Brooks and Geraldine London with the Dream Foundation. And this group of young people actually are interested in government in the future. So they're meeting with me today, but when they go back to Mobile, they're also going to be meeting with our city council members and with our county commissioners. These are our future leaders. So I'd ask you to stand up and give them a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us today. You've been very attentive. I've been impressed by your interest. Hopefully what you've seen today has not discouraged you from being involved in government in the future. But we need people like you, and we appreciate you being here. With that, we're adjourned. See you in the morning.